A Melbourne-based financial advisor was recently caught in limbo after purchasing a $650,000 book of clients, potentially missing out on trailing commissions. Two fund managers involved in the purchase, Macquarie Funds Group and Synergy, had requested client approval before the advisor, who did not wish to be named, can get the trails. But this is the catch: he would not be able to get through to many of the clients because some of the products in the book were sold as many as 20 years ago. Executive Director of Macquarie Specialist Investments, Peter van der Westhuizen, explains Macquarie's reasoning behind such a request.
Well, I think the first thing to say is that it's very much on a case-by-case basis. I think the important thing to note here is, with respect to investment loans, which is the area that I work in, the Corporations Act is actually silent on this issue, so there's no real sort of legislative or legal guidance to provide a very clear process that you need to go through. So I think really one of the bits of feedback we do receive is that advisors sometimes don't know which way different providers are going to go. What we would do is just look at it in terms of what we think is reasonable, what we think will be required to make it very efficient. But ultimately, the relationship that we have in terms of a lending point of view is with the end investor. So we need to make sure that their rights are maintained, our obligations to that borrower are maintained, and also that it's very, very clearly the degree of privacy that we are required to uphold is done in the right way.
If the buyer of the business is going to provide essentially the same services as the seller to those clients, then the seller can pass on that client information, and so too can the fund manager, and can direct the fund manager to pass on that information. If, on the other hand, the buyer of the business is going to provide very different services, then there may well be an issue as to whether or not that's a proper purpose for the use of that information. So for a fund manager in those circumstances to refuse to transfer the revenue without the client's express consent is probably going beyond what is the protections that are afforded to those clients or required for those clients under the privacy laws. So the fund manager's position may well not be justified.
Claire Wivell-Plater is a legal expert at Gold Seal who said this was an unusual case.
It's not something we see very often at all. To be honest, it's used, the technique is used more by licensees who are trying to delay the transfer of clients as opposed to fund managers who really don't care where the money is paid to. Obviously there's a very significant implication on future sales, because the cost of administration of the transfer will exponentially increase, because if every client has to be contacted and have their consent obtained, number one, that's a very large administrative exercise. Number two, there could be a considerable drop-off rate, and number three, it could take a considerable amount of time, and all of those things will impact on the value of the book. So definitely the portfolio transfers will become much less valuable.
While Synergy cited Privacy Act concerns as the reason behind their request, van der Westhuizen said Macquarie tries to find a balance between fulfilling their legal obligations and making it an efficient process for the advisor.
So there'd actually be a range of things, and that could be anything from us asking every client to sign and acknowledge that they are transferring with the new advisor, right the way through to a situation where we do want to try and make this as administratively efficient as possible. So what we try and do potentially, without being able to comment on the particular situation, we might be able to look at the client's or the advisor's contract of sale in their business, and we might also want to see what the old and the new advisor has communicated to the clients, and we'd make a decision on that basis.
Also in money management this week, questions remain over whether Aqua 2 will result in wholesale fundies taking a leap into the retail space. And agribusiness, are advisors still running scared?